What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Al.S Gaming. Today we will be doing a banner review or a news update at the same time. Now the brave Exvius channel has released some news about the whole Nier banner as well as a few other things. So first we will be getting a new trial boss, so that would be the Marlboro. If you guys don't already know, that's the tentacle looking boss beast thing that basically does a lot of status ailments to your units. So I would recommend getting a ribbon or discernment if you haven't already, or if you're quite close to farming that up. We'll be getting a few new ability awakening updates, as you can see on screen right now. None of these are very interesting to me because I either don't have the units or I don't intend to ever use them. If you guys have them, go check them out. It should be on the wiki or the Reddit. I won't be going through them in this video, so let's just move on. Alright, so we have confirmation that the Nier banner will be the next upcoming banner, which should either be this Thursday or Friday depending on where you are. I think it's basically Friday for me. And we will be having, I think, 6 new units. 1 3-star, 2 5-stars, and 3 4-stars. If you think about it, it's very similar to the current banner, the Veritas banner. So prepare accordingly in terms of overall assault and the chance of you actually pulling any of the units. So let's just move right into the unit overview. First we have 210. She doesn't get any magic skills. Actually, none of the units have any magic skills. So this is kind of interesting, and she's a really good buffer. If you're a new player and you don't have any buffers, feel free to use her. So some notable skills would be overall support. What this does is increases your attack and defense by 40% to all allies for 3 turns. Support 1, defense and spirit, so that basically increases your defense and spirit by 80% to 1 ally for 2 turns, and its counterpart would be support 1, attack and magic, which will increase your attack and magic by 80% for 2 turns to 1 ally. Lastly, she has a 100 decoy, which basically negates 1 physical damage taken for 3 turns to the caster, and it will basically do AoE damage. So her Trust Mastery should be Mechanical Heart, and basically all the TMRs on this banner should be pretty good, in my opinion at least. What Mechanical Heart does, it gives you 15% Spirit and HP, as well as a 30% chance to counter magic or physical damage with a self-heal. So in my opinion, this would go really well on your tanks because they'll be drawing attacks, especially physical attacks, and it gives them a way to self-sustain. Next, we'll be looking at Adam. So basically Adam will be the raid unit, and you'll be able to draw him or pull him through the through raid summon, if I'm not wrong. I don't know if he's limited to just 1 or you'll be able to pull multiples of him, because if that's the case, you should be able to farm up his TMR quite easily. His TMR is, I have no idea what it's called, but basically what it does is for 3 turns, it gives you a plus 110 attack when your HP is below 30%. Now this is not really a TMR I foresee myself using, because the attack buff is very nice, but you basically have to keep your HP low. I can see some uses here and there. It's a bit gimmicky, but you could potentially slap it on one of your physical damage dealers, and when their HP is low, attack first before healing them up. So as for its limit burst, once again I have no idea what it's called because currently it's in Japanese. What it does is basically at max, it will do a single target 1 hit, physical damage 810%, as well as a 3-turn 104% attack buff. Now this is very strong. The only issue is the fact that you won't be using Adam very often, as you'll see why. Adam only has 4 skills that you can actually use. His first skill is Human Imitation. Basically what that does is gives you a self buff, in the sense that for 1 turn you have a 50% chance to do counter. Yeah, which is not that great in my opinion, because you could just slap on black belt or something and you would naturally counter. His next skill that you can actually use is a self 1 turn 50% damage mitigation. Now once again, this skill is decent if you have to defend against some sort of nuke coming up, but at the same time you have units nowadays that can reduce the damage taken overall for your whole team. So the issue here is more of, if it doesn't stack, then you wouldn't be using this skill very often. he gets Bullet Wave, and what Bullet Wave does is basically you delay one turn, and on the next turn you do an AoE 4-hit physical damage for 500%, as well as giving yourself 50% damage mitigation for one turn. Now you would probably be using this skill over Damage Cut, which is the previous skill, but the only issue here is you basically have to wait one turn. It's basically like a jump, but the difference is jump puts you out of the game for a while, so you can you won't receive damage. But in this case, you are, if I'm not wrong, you are still in the game, so you will receive damage. Lastly, you have Cube Explosion, which is an AoE single hit physical 225% damage, as well as a debuff of 40% defense for 3 turns. So if you used Damage Cut in the turn before, this basically increases the multiplier all the way up to 500%. Now this is a very strong nuke. Now this is a very strong hit. You could potentially use him as a finisher given that it's a single hit. But yeah, I still don't foresee myself using him because I have Luneth right now and I think he's a better finisher as compared to Adam. But if you're a new player, feel free to use. There's no harm using a free 4-star to 6-star unit. Now as for passives, he gets Katana Evade, and what that does is it gives you a self buff for 3 turns to allow you to avoid one attack, which is I guess it could save you in some situations, but once again it's a bit gimmicky. I don't know if this will be reapplied if you heal him up past 50% or if you have to revive him for this to be used again. When his HP is below 30%, he gets Sever Network, which will give you an increase of defense and spirit for 3 turns, up to 80%. Not up to, it will do it for 80%. And lastly, he gets Raw Feelings, which when his HP is below 5%, which in my opinion is really hard to do, for 3 turns he will get a 150% attack, defense, magic and spirit buff. Now once again, if you can activate this buff consistently while keeping him alive, it will be really good, but he doesn't have any skills or abilities that keep him at 1 HP or anything below 5%. So if you're trying to get this buff, there is a very high chance of you accidentally dying. So the next 4-star unit we'll be looking at is 9S, and his TMR is called Pod 153 if I'm not wrong. This basically is very similar to Riku's pouch in the sense that it gives you a number of things when you equip it. First, it gives you repair, if I'm not wrong, and that will basically give you a heal over time, as well as, it basically gives you a heal over 3 turns. Next is A170, which will give you 100% Treasure Hunter. It's pretty nice if you're farming vortexes, or the Chamber of Gems, or the story dungeon thingies. It really just helps you get more rare materials. Next you get A060, which basically is a 2-turn 40% damage mitigation. And lastly R020, which is an 8-hit 300% multiplier skill. Now I recommend getting a few of these TMRs because it makes units such as Lightning that have that can't really chain very well. It gives them an ability to chain with other units. They might have really high attack or innate dual wield, but just that the kit might be weird. It allows them to chain physically with other units, and many of us don't have proper chainers, so you can look into that. Now as for his active abilities, he's a very good debuffer, and basically he's able to debuff Magic and Spirit by 50% for 3 turns to a single target. Now this is called Purge Magic and Spirit. He also gets Purge Attack and Defense, which basically decreases the attack and defense for a single enemy by 50% for 3 turns. Now he can also do an Imperil for up to 50%. His skills will allow you to Imperil Fire, Lightning and Wind, or Ice, Water and Earth separately. And using these, basically it reduces the element resistance by 50%. So now let's move on to our 5-star unit. The first one will be 2B. So her Trust Master is called Light Covenant, and it's basically a katana with 130 attack plus 20% MP. Now if you put this on Noctis, it should allow him to increase attack past 1000 if I'm not wrong. And given that Noctis is going to have his buffs coming up eventually, it could be a pretty decent weapon to farm up for him. Now as for active abilities, she comes with an auto revive up to 20% for herself, as well as A150 Volt. Now what that does is physical damage 2 times 1 enemy, as well as lightning imperil by 50% to a single enemy. Now this could have some sort of usage with Deleter in my opinion, sorry, Knight Deleter, as he does something very similar and he can enchant himself with Thunder Element. On top of that, she has a skill called Avoid, which allows you to negate 2 physical damage for 3 turns to the caster. It also gives you a chance to counter physical attacks by 20% for 2 turns to the caster. And on top of that, it gives you access to a skill called Avoid Attack for the next turn. Now what Avoid Attack does is basically physical 9 times multiplied to a single enemy. It will cost 60 MP, which is quite MP intensive, so make sure she has some sort of MP sustain here and there. And after that, if you were to use Speed Attack, instead of its regular 4 times multiplier, it will end up doing 6 times multiplier to a single enemy. So she's one of those units that you have to kind of combo here and there, very similar to Yida. I don't know how you pronounce his name, YDA, you know who he is. The guy which allowed you to essentially quad cast abilities. So, as I mentioned earlier, she has Pod Charge, which is her auto revive skill, and if you were to use R50 Spear after using Pod Charge, instead of a 2.7 times multiplier to one enemy, as well as giving you 100% machine killer for 2 turns, it will change to a 5.5 times multiplier instead. So basically, if you were to use R40 Blade after Pod Charge instead of R50 Spear, instead of the regular 2.5 times damage to all enemies, it becomes a 7.5 times multiplier to all enemies. Now take note, while the multipliers increase after certain moves, the MP cost will increase as well, so make sure you have enough MP or you have an MP battery sustaining them. Other notable skills would be Dual Wield, innately obviously. She has innate Machine Killer as well as Restarts, which allows her to survive fatal damage, much like Frevia or Zargaba. So if you don't already know, we'll be getting 2 global exclusives. First will be Eve, which is basically Adam's twin brother, except with shorter hair. Now he has a pretty sick sprite, but we don't know much about him. His attack looks pretty high at 198, which is actually higher than quite a few units in my opinion. As you can see, he gets skills such as Roundhouse Kick, Pillar of Light, as well as Gather Machine Scraps. So other than that, we don't really know what he does or what his Trust Mastery will do. So yeah, we'll just have to wait till after maintenance. Lastly, we have A2, which is our global exclusive 5-star base. Once again, we don't exactly know what she does, but we know she has innate dual wield. She has a way to basically cast Mirage on herself. She has some sort of HP drain, which does physical damage and will heal herself at the same time. What we do know about her is that she will have AoE as well as single target attacks, and she has a skill called Inherent Will, which basically sacrifices one ally to recover your HP as well as Limit Burst. So I'm not entirely sure how this would work. It seems a bit gimmicky, but maybe you could cast Auto Revive on a unit, maybe someone like 2B, and then use Inherent Will to kill her and recover A2, and then have her Auto Revive, as well as reset her skill, which basically allows her to survive with very low HP. So finally, her Limit Burst does AoE damage, and it will give herself a very large attack buff apparently, but the trade-off is you will lose large chunks of HP every turn. This may not be a Limit Burst you want to use too often, or you might use it closer to the end of a fight. But if you choose to use it, maybe make sure you have enough regen or a healer every turn. So that's the banner, guys. The question is, should you pull or should you not pull? Personally, I believe you should pull for this banner because number one, they're all really good units. Number two, their TMRs are really good as well. And thirdly, they are limited units, so once they're gone, they're gone. A lot like Tilith, as well as the whole Brave Frontier banner. Yeah, that's pretty much it, I guess. No matter what you put, it's going to be a good addition to your team. So that's the video, guys. Let me know if you guys have decided to pull or not. I know a lot of you have been waiting for this banner for a very long time. A lot of you have been saving tickets or your lapis. So let me know who you managed to pull when the banner comes out, or if you didn't pull at all for some strange reason, or if you're gonna, you know, buy lots of lapis just to pull more on this banner. Let me know in the comments down below. And if you haven't subscribed already, remember to hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next video.